I'm Vicky and this is Rocked Up Frocks, where I take vintage and pre-loved clothing and give them a makeover. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and make sure you click the little bell so that you get notified when I upload new videos. Today I'm going to be making over this dress for Kartika. Kartika wore this as a bridesmaid's dress for a friend's wedding last year, and it's so pretty that she wants to change it up and wear it again. She's not going to wear it again like it is, so I'm going to transform it from a pretty bridesmaid's dress into a cool party dress for her, and she's left it completely to me to choose what I want to do to it, so it's going to be a surprise for her when she sees it. The first thing I'm going to do to Kartika's dress is shorten the skirt. I'm going to measure down from the waist to the length I want, plus some seam allowance. Then I'm going to pin the hem of the chiffon layer and the lining and machine stitch them into place. So my satin lining layer has been shortened and the hem's all stitched. Now I'm going to do the chiffon overlay layer, and I've decided that I'm going to do a high-low hem on this. I want to keep the length at the back and then cut it to just longer than the satin layer at the front for Kartika. So to do this, I'm actually going to fold it in half front to back and then measure the front and cut across and leave the back as it is. Here's how it looks now it's cut. So my centre back seam is there and that's still the same length it was, and then it curves up to the side seam and then up a little more and finishes. My shortest one is at the centre front, which is the length I want to sit over the satin layer. So now I'm going to pin and machine stitch the hem on this layer. To get a nice neat rolled hem on fine fabrics, I stitch up more than I need and then trim really close to where I've stitched it, and then do a second fold and sew again. So here's how my narrow rolled hem on the silk chiffon layer looks after one lot of sewing. So you can see I've got a big seam allowance which I've stitched up, and I've stitched as close to the edge as possible. So next I'm going to take my scissors and, being careful only to cut through the seam allowance, I'm going to cut really close to that stitching all the way around. Once you've trimmed off all this excess all the way around, you're left with this. So you've just got a row of stitching and then you cut really close to that, and that leaves you a really neat narrow edge to turn up again. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all the way around and then stitch this into place. And I find that it's easier just to hold this as you sew it rather than trying to pin it because it's so narrow. So this is how our narrow rolled hem looks like on the silk chiffon. Now I've sewn it for the second time. So I've pressed both layers, so the satin is machined and pressed, this layer is machined and pressed. So next I'm going to add a sequin layer between the satin and the chiffon overlay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the width, the length and the width of the hem of the satin layer, and then I'm going to cut the sequin layer just slightly wider at the bottom and about 1.5 inches longer as well. And then I'm going to stitch the centre back seam, the side seams, and press them open. So because I don't want to take the dress apart at the waist, I'm actually just going to hand stitch it in along here, and then I'll hand stitch it really carefully just either side of the zip as well, and then it will sit neatly underneath, but without having to go to the whole hassle of taking the bodice and lining apart at the waist, taking the zip out and put it back in. So it's the quicker way to do it, and with the overlay you won't even notice. This is my skirt layer to go underneath the chiffon, and now it's all together I'm going to sew the side seams, the centre back seam up to where the zip starts, and then I'm going to press all the seams open, and then I'm going to hem it and press that as well, then it'll be ready to sew in. My skirt layer is joined and pressed and hemmed, and I've pressed the hem too. So next I'm going to pin it into the dress between the two layers. So I've matched my side seam to the side seam, got it as close to the waist as possible. I'm just going to pin that in place. Do the other side seam. Now they're in, I can pin across the front. There is a little bit of stretch to the sequin, so I'm just making sure I don't stretch it as I pin it. The front pinned in place. And then I'm going to do exactly the same at the back, and then I'm going to pin around the zip and then hand sew it all into place. Now the skirt's all finished, I'm going to start working on the bodice part. So when Kartika wore this as a bridesmaid's dress, she found the lace quite itchy, so I'm going to try and take some of that off. And then I'm going to use some pink silk chiffon, this beautiful rose applique, and some of this teal lace to add some detail to one shoulder. So I've already cut this to a sleeve shape, which I will gather on to make a little chiffon fluttery sleeve on one side. And then I'm going to layer the lace and this applique together. But before I do that, I want to work out how I'm going to best take this lace off. It's sewn into the seams here, so it's the underarm bit's the bit we really need to get rid of. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to keep this shoulder this width, and I'm going to cut that and reattach it further over. So I'm going to literally cut that and cut some lace out. Good thing about lace like this, you can just cut it. What's my iron beeping in the background? I better go and turn that off. And then I can re-stitch that to form the bottom of this part of the sleeve. Alright, I'm just going to go and turn my iron off. And then I'm going to remove some of the lace, and I can just catch down the edges of it, and I'm going to create a sort of asymmetrical flow of lace across here. Going to keep pinning and cutting, and then I'm going to hand stitch everything into place, and I'll be back to show you what it looks like when it's all finished. So Kartika's back, and here's the finished dress. What do you think?
I love it.
It's changed it so much. It's changed it from what was a really gorgeous bridesmaid's dress into something completely different. I think by changing the neckline and adding all this fun detail in the colour, it's turned it from bridesmaid to this really fun party dress. Yeah, and this is all just hand sewn on, so this is something we could take off later and replace it with something else as well. So now we've got the base with the sparkles under the skirt. It could evolve and become something else in the future once you've worn it like this a couple of times. And those earrings are so perfect with it. Meant to be. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching me make over this dress for Kartika. We're dressed up. We're off to an event now in our Rocked Up Frocks. I'll put the link below to this one, which is the one I did last week. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and make sure you click the little bell so that you get notified when I upload new videos.